you know, some of you were absent on Thursday. So Friday in the greenhouse, kids were like, what? What pre-lab? And I was like, don't worry, you can bring it on Monday. Brian did. Anybody else done? Bring it to me and I will send. Now this is because you were absent on Thursday, right? Actually, Ryan Morey will come back and give you a stamp. You get it, you know. Regarding the soil salinization lab, from now on, they're usually like that, which means you show up prepared for the lab, you know what to do. If your lab prep is sufficient for you to perform the lab, I will give you a stamp. If you copy some stuff from someone and you don't know what you copied, it's not good enough, I will not give you a stamp. It's pretty cut or dry. Most of the time, you're either ready to do the lab or you're not. And most of the time, it's a little bit more rushed than Friday. Friday was a pretty lazy lab. The intensity tends to go up as we get further on in the year. Anyway, anybody have any information for me or feedback on the soil salinization lab questions, complaints? Like the greenhouse, hate the greenhouse, whatever?
My table is pretty dirty.
The table is pretty dirty, that's good. Okay. So the fish thing. How far did we get in the fish movie?
We got the shrimp farming now.
Shrimp farming. They had just started, or you kind of like?
A
little bit of it. All right.
So you got trawling.
Yeah. Now. Oh yeah.
Is there any study goal questions that correspond with the video?
Oh yeah.
There's a section on it.
Yeah, like a lot of them. But before we get back to the movie, I need to clarify the last part of number 38. Please look at your study guide, and you may need your notes for this. Number 38. The study guide and notes. Number 38. Elk, potato salad, sprouted garbanzos, on top of a green salad.
Not fair.
All right. Number 38 says blah blah blah, British Columbia salmon, blah blah blah. A statement, Norway disease, alternatives, and concerns for human health. So this is your pop quiz. What is the concern for human health? Yes? The fish are fed fish pellets that have a high concentration of toxins. Because the fish pellets are made of fish and eat other fish. Concentration decreased exponentially when you go to the food lab. Anybody else have anything to add? Yes?
They use a lot of fish on the lower levels to feed their primary, secondary.
Kind of, yes. Anybody else?
They engage in human.
Now we're getting into a separate issue. I'm trying to stick to the human health issue. Did anybody notice the concentration of dioxins, PCBs, and other carcinogens compared to wild-caught salmon?
It was a lot higher.
It was 10 times higher. And I want you to remember that number. because it is surprisingly easy to understand why farmed salmon would be 10 times, would have 10 times as high a concentration of these toxins. Coincidentally, before I give you that explanation, I have an opportunity to throw out a bit of vocab. So I'll take it. Anybody know what you call a toxin that might give you cancer? Carcinogen. Anybody know what you might call a toxin that causes mutations? A mutagen. Not a hard one. Does anybody know what you call a toxin that affects the development of a fetus? New word for you. It's called a teratogen. 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 And some of the teratogens found in farmed fish are known to affect the nervous system development of humans. So if you feed your pregnant woman too much farmed fish, apparently there is pretty convincing evidence that you might be lowering the IQ of her child. That's great. Kind of amazing. Before we get all freaked out, she would have to eat a lot of farmed fish. To put it in perspective, it would probably not be likely that anybody in a conventional food stream could get that much. But in the extreme cases, if somebody's like a crazy fish fanatic and they always buy farmed fish, it could have a distinct consequence on the development of the child. All right. I should warn you, please take heed. It's really hard for me to give you this explanation. There's a couple of terms that I fear, without these terms, I can't explain this. And I haven't taught you these terms yet. So it's like trying to have a conversation about problems with gravity when I haven't taught you what gravity is. Bear with me, I'll do my best. Wild salmon eat primarily crustaceans. Farmed salmon eat primarily fish meal pellets. Salmon, as far as we can tell, like in terms of salmon health, as far as I'm aware, salmon have no particular preference. They'll eat crustaceans or fish meal about as aggressively, they grow about as quickly, they stay about as healthy. Salmon eats, salmon poops, salmon grows, salmon sleeps, does all the usual salmon stuff. If you give a salmon 100 calories of crustacean or 100 calories of fish meal, I'm not sure that the salmon is any wiser for the difference. So the first thing I want to clarify is this is not a question of what's better for the salmon. There may be differences, but I don't think it's a big whoop. This isn't about what's better for salmon. Now, fish meal is made by grinding up fish. And as you know, fish are higher on the trophic ladder than zooplankton and crustaceans, which are obviously a little lower. Here comes the interesting part. And let me, before I told you it was going to suck. Okay, that explanation. I wanted to take a little side trip. You all remember that we said, like, if you look in the environment and you see a lot of bears, that means you're in a highly productive ecosystem, because it takes like many square miles of grass to feed the crickets, that feed the mice, that feed the snakes, that keep one bear alive. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
So there's like acreage of productivity proportional to number of peak predators, right? More productive systems have more predators because there's more productivity, so you've got more stuff going uphill. Everybody remembers this?
Yeah.
And anybody remember the average energy efficiency at each trophic level? How much energy makes it uphill on average? 10%. And does everybody remember that that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek average, and really there's a lot of variation, and in a managed system you can get chickens up to like 26%, and some animals in the wild are more efficient than others. Okay. So, my wild salmon will eat 100 calories of crustaceans, which is a raw food, loose food, tongue-in-cheek, about 1,000 calories of productivity-ish. It takes about 1,000 calories of algae to make about 100 calories of crustaceans to feed our wild salmon daily. Good?
Yeah.
The farmed salmon are going to get 100 calories of fish pellets, which were made using about 1,000 calories of zooplankton or crustaceans, which required about 10,000 calories of productivity in the ocean. It takes about 1,000 calories of algae for the wild salmon, and it takes about 10,000 calories for the farm salmon because they're eating another step higher in the food chain. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
One more step means you're basically multiplying the bottom by 10. Okay? Now, that trophic issue will come up again, but I need to leave it aside for a minute.
Good question.
Yo-yo.
Why can't we feed like crustaceans?
It's a very good question. There's no reason that we couldn't, but logistically, to get crustaceans out of the ocean in a significant volume and to preserve them and get them to the fish is just a lot more expensive than it is to feed them some sort of fish stuff. If I send a boat with a $20 net out into the ocean, they can catch me a ton of sardines, but they would need many hundreds of dollars net to catch me 100 pounds of zooplankton. And it would take them a lot longer, and they'd probably have to be a lot pickier about how to do it, and handling would be different. It's just the logistics and economics. This is relatively easy to get. This is just more complicated. Coincidentally, there's more of this in the ocean, but it's smaller, so it gets more complicated. Newsflash for all of you. Each of our bodies has a little tiny bit of mercury and a little tiny bit of gold and a little tiny bit of cadmium and strontium and rhodium and variety of heavy metals and miscellaneous toxins. Does everybody understand that all of our bodies have very small amounts of these things? Now, God forbid something bad should happen to you, but let's just go a step further and imagine that your dead body has ended up in a swamp. So, inshallah, that'll never happen, but anyway. All 38 of you end up in a swamp somewhere. And then there's a mudslide, and your bodies get buried by sand, the depositional rock, and the changing of the waters, and you get squeezed, and you get buried under more tectonic processes, and uplift, more heat, pressure. You become petroleum. Okay. 300 to 500 million years after you died and fell in the swamp, your 38 teenage bodies have become about this much petroleum. in my car.